Um,
Good morning.
I thank ICS and Sadhguru Sangh for giving me this opportunity to share whatever I know. And I would, yes, of course, I would be mooting the topics and the titles. And we know that we have such a big congregation of experts out here, and many more will be joining. So I think it is a very big, very good platform where we can share our ideas, right? So this particular topic is the topic in discussion these days, because it has gone to the level of action, right, for the industries where they have to get authorized and they have to start pulling out the data, which they might have never thought of even collecting, right? So this is the action time for all of them. And what I am dealing with would not be anything required or any information for getting yourself registering or getting authorized. No. This is the complete subject what I'm handling is it as a perspective of an environment management system auditor. Okay, so because when such rules and guidelines are released and enforced, we need to know how do we interpret it when we are auditing, and how do we take it, because we are also one of the stakeholders here. When it comes to environment, I think all of us are stakeholders, right? Each one of us belonging to this planet have equal rights and shared commons, and we have to become citizen activists out here to protect our own environment for our own well-being, right? So in that perspective, how much ever I know, in the perspective as a compliance and as said, as a bigger role of a citizen, how much we should be understanding and taking it forward. So in that context, anybody and everybody, I think there will be also a session out there, or after every topic I complete, I can stop and we can discuss over it and we can proceed further, or we can have in the end, as Yachika mentioned, a question and answer session.
Yeah, sure.
But I would say that the whole topic itself is based on question answers. Okay, so the bigger question answers is something I would be talking loud here. Okay, so I would start sharing my screen, and yes, generally everybody can mute.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, the speaker gets derailed, isn't it? We forget what we were saying, and that's dangerous to the session. Okay. Is my thing visible? Yachika, is it full screen visible or?
No, can you make it in a full screen?
Yeah, I can. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, now?
Yeah, it's a full screen.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, you can start.
So once again, a very warm good morning. Of course, we are reaching towards a hot morning in most part of the country. Yes. So this is extended producer responsibility. So the concept itself has the statement itself, or the title itself, talks a lot about the understanding what it is. So here we all know that a producer, as of till now, or even today, there are many who would have not realized that they have something called an extended moral responsibility obligation, which they have to extend and make available for, as a business, to the society, right, or to the economy. So this is how we understand extended producer responsibility. That is, a producer makes something, buys the raw material, and realizes it into the given specified product or component. It can be services also, and is handed over to the end, to the customer, who then in many cases hands over it to the end user, right? So the chain, the supply chain here for the life cycle of the product from getting realized till the end has many, many stakeholders out here, right? So in this whole thing, what had happened as of now was that all of us had become responsible to take care of the end of a given product, right? Or a service, the outcomes of the service. So that means to say, in a very layman's language, the taxpayer was liable. I would say, I would openly declare this as a taxpayer's liability of handling it, right? So nowhere others were involved in the chain, in that life cycle. But as we are itching towards, that is, we're all that we are talking about when it comes to pollution or waste or anything, we have to remember that it all started a very, it's not a very old problem or an issue or a history. It has got a very short history. It is quite young. It starts with the Industrial Revolution. And when we talk about Industrial Revolution, the time period we pick up in the history, in the chronicles, is 1850. So 1850 is the year from where we start counting it, right? So we cannot say that Industrial Revolution started in the 15th century, you know, all that Renaissance and other things. No, this is where, because here started production, right? Textile production, mining, the locomotive industry, all this picked up here from this period onwards. So if you take that, how old is this industrialization, right? 1850 to 2022. It's quite very young, right? But as we see that we have already reached the Industrial 4.0, and if you take some of the, what you say, very highly developed technologies, technological societies like Japan, we see that they have already exited 4.0 and have entered 5.0, right? So that is where we are. So in this fast pace, that is 1950 onwards. So we are not taking 1850. We are going to take 100 years later, that is 1950. So 1950 onwards, whatever has been accumulated. That means we have done so much of technological updations, and we have okay. Yachika, Shruti is calling me. I don't know why. Could you just attend to it, or do I pause and take a phone?
Yeah, you can take your call, please.
Should I take the call?
Yeah, sure.
Looks like Shruti doesn't know I am on air. Okay. Okay. So as I was saying, 1950 onwards, we have to take the timelines, right? So any waste or anything we are talking about will be accounted for from 1950 onwards, right? What we have been doing is, we see that 1950 onwards, there were a huge bunch of countries which were subjugated, which were colonized, got independence, and they started exercising their independence. They wanted to develop, right? And also the industrialized countries, the developed countries, the countries which suppressed the other half of the world, these were at the receiving end, right? So, so here what happened was that there was a gap between doing things responsibly. Everybody were in a great race of, competing with each other, trying to reach that developed stage, right? We still have nations which are yet to come to that level where the basic necessities of life is yet to be given to them, right? Facilitated to them. And we should not forget that when it comes to the World Bank or the European Union, India still is categorized as underdeveloped country. Please keep this in mind. And with this in mind, we need to progress through the session or anywhere when we are talking about economics or business, right? So when such a pressure is put on a country which is the most populous today on the planet and which has the biggest number of youth to its side, we should remember that we can only quote them as youth and not skilled youth, okay? When it comes to skills, we are still lagging very, very much behind to the whole world. So here we have a peer pressure as such, to do a lot of things. And not only us, we have a lot of people around us who are also racing along with us also. So this period saw a rapid growth where thought of, how to dispose was not realized, right? It is like I would say that when we talk about correction and the corrective action, this was just a correction process. We are always in the correction process, and our R&D, when it comes to technology or how we are dealing with the whole planet, it is always in that mode of R&D going on, right? So plastic was invented. It was a byproduct of the petroleum, fossil fuel, and it turned out as a magic material, right? We know it is a magic material, and it has given solutions, the cheap minimum cost solutions to so many things, especially in the field of health and safety. It has given a wide range of options where we can afford it, right? And also ease of using it. All this has, and then comes the technology part, that is the electronics part, right? When we talk about technology, it is the electronics. The way we change our mobile phones, the smartphones, tells us how fast we are moving in the nanotechnology field, right? So what has happened is, and as I was talking about the colonies getting freed and the free nations, everybody wanted to develop. So everybody wanted to have the slice of goodness and wellness in their life, right? Quality of life. So here started the thinking where we were making and selling. We were not worried about anything else, right? We were not worried about anything else. And the governments also were worried about facilitating. It became a basic necessity, roti kapada makan, right? How do I facilitate it to my citizens? So this were the parameters which were playing around and which was taken up by all the players, and then started, right? Then started where we saw a drastic change in the environment, in the climate, from one region to the other, right? The often occurrences of what we are going to face this year, the El Nino effect, and so many things, right? This started. And then the lifestyle diseases and carcinogenic related diseases also started increasing. That is when the whole world had to take a pause and had to think about it. So we know all those protocols, all those COPs, right? What are happening now in the name of environment, hot discussions. But we have to remember that time to discussion is over. It is now time to take, time to fight, right? We have to quit thinking that we have elected somebody, we have nominated somebody, they will take care of it. So here comes every one of us taking care of it, right? And whenever we talk about taking care, the best care can be given, or the best solution can be given when we have the previous data in hand, correct? How much are we dealing with? That is very important for us. And I think EPR wants to do that. It wants to collect the data. But here, as our time is running very fast, so here comes the targets also. Now, this is not the question of R&D, like I am going to collect the data, I'm going to, have a brainstorming over it and then come out with the best solution. No, here, hand in hand, the authorities are trying to collect the data, and also hand in hand, they are going to hand over the targets, EPR targets, to every entity. Right? When we say entity, then it will be the businesses, right? So let's now, with this little background as to the EPR itself, let's move forward to understand it a little better. So as Yachika has already mentioned, these would be some of the things what would be looking forward to in the whole session. And yes, first let us understand. Now, here we have to understand that, as I said, that we ourselves are a big parameter to contend with. The country itself is a big thing, right? We become a big contributor to the whole world. When it comes to contribution, we have contributed to the world in all ways. 360 degrees, we are great contributors, no doubt about it, right? Now, let us see, because we are a developing nation. So here what happens is, when we talk about waste, we are not only dealing with the waste, what we are putting up with, we are also talking about the waste which is sent to us. We are developing nations, right? We still have a lot of space, and we still are unaware, I will say. We are unlettered when it comes to the consequences, because we are in a race of having that roti kapda makan facilitated to all the citizens, that there are some times that we are taken advantage of. That means waste produced in other developed countries are sent to us, right, for processing. They know the harms of processing. We are yet to get it there, right? So what do? They give us money for it. And yes, of course, we see it, we see the minimum damage it can do. And we try to take care of that minimum optimum level of taking care of. And we will say, theek hai, de do, okay. And the dollar and the euros are always more than the rupee, right? So this has created an Indian scenario. So what is the scenario about? Let's go to the first one, right? The first one, which is very important to us, and also the theme for this year's Environmental Day, which happens to be June 6th, which is fast approaching, right? So it is beat the plastic pollution, right? That is the theme. So when it comes to plastics, we generate, this is the Indian scenario, I'm not talking about the world scenario, 300 billion metric tons, pieces, right? Plastic pieces are 300 billion in the environment around us. And when it comes to uncollected plastic waste, it is 4 metric tons. Now, to clear this much of uncollected, we have to have 1,240 hectares of land. Please, we have to remember that the land is very precious to us, right? Just 30% of the land we have in the whole planet. So in that case, India holds how much, and in that we have to give away these many hectares. For what? For just landfilling. Because we cannot allow this plastic to be lying on the ground exposed to the sun, right? Especially, I'm only referring to the fact that it should not be exposed to the sun. That is a more greater harm than anything else. So then comes how much percentage? That means 60% of the plastic is out there in our environment. It is just lying out there. It's a great threat, right? This is the biggest enemy what we have. It is not the enemy on the borders, rather, we know them, we can fight it out. But this is something, fighting the inside enemy is very difficult. Every one of us knows that. Okay. Then comes the other one, that is e-waste. Now, when it comes to plastic and e-waste, we have to know that plastic has a very long life. So the effects of the plastic take a long time, but it is there. You cannot get rid of it. Whereas when it comes to e-waste, the repercussions are a little faster, because the hazardous material which gets into making the e-waste are far more hazardous and toxic than the plastics. So we have 32.9 recycled. That's a good news. 32.9 recycled, but you see the unprocessed e-waste lying out there. Please remember that when we say unprocessed, it can be a mobile phone or a gadget, electronic gadget, which you might have lying in a corner of the house, because all of these material have a shelf life, correct? So they start decaying, they start acting with the environment and start giving out the pollutants. So that means you're exposing yourself to that carcinogenic pollutants. So that means you have to dig in. And the e-waste is very, very, very valuable. A lot of silver, a lot of gold, a lot of platinum gets there. That is why, when they process it, you get something back, right? You get money back because of that precious metals which are inside it. But taking out these precious metals is very difficult. It's a very, very difficult process, and a highly, it needs a high-end technology. So there also we are lagging. We cannot afford it. We do not have it, right? One of the countries which has and which utilizes it is Germany, and it has one very good formula which they have which they use for quite a long time, we should say, in Berlin. Berlin waste management is one of the top in the world. Okay. Then comes how much? 67% of the e-waste is out there in the environment, which is not processed yet. So that means unprocessed also is a threat to us. So this is the Indian scenario, right? We are dealing with only 2 here. EPR also deals with only 2. So what is EPR? EPR is nothing but its producer's responsibility has been made moral, an obligation, and it has been extended to whatever product he is making. He may not be making also. That means traders come here. I'm importing something, I'm buying it out from somebody, and I'm packaging it and I am sending it, right? That also comes into my kitty. So products and packaging extending to the post-consumer phase. So I open the packet. I order so much from Flipkart and Amazon, right? As a common person. So what I do now, what I do with the packing? There are many, many things which comes in the packing, because the producer or the seller is so very keen on sending you the product in its right conditions, in its performing condition, right? That he will take extra care. So we know what all comes as packing materials, right? It's not only plastic. It comes in a cardboard, and then inside we used to have a lot of thermocol packing also, right? If you observe, Amazon products has stopped thermocol. Thermocol is banned everywhere, and it got banned in India. So now, people who are here with us, so keep, this is a point to be taken off. So when we are doing the audit, so we still see, only yesterday I saw a packing where they are using thermocol packing. And this was a very interesting scenario, right? So they are not now the question was, they were supplying to an MNC. So the question is, MNCs don't take thermocol because they come under their own rules. The EU rules is very stringent, right? We all know that. So they don't take thermocol. It's banned. So the question was, how is it possible? How is the MNC taking it? Then we got to know, when we did the digging further, we got to know that they take it. They just give it to them. It goes to the go down where it is unpacked and then repacked and then sent to the MNC, who will yet again send it to their own clients, wherever it has to be installed and commissioned, right? Now comes, these are the gaps. So here what happens is, now everybody is cutting cost, right? Cutting cost. So we are not bothered. When nobody raises a question, we are wrapping it up and sending it along. So this is what is happening. That is why packaging is included. So all those people are in the gambit who are packing it and sending it to the end user, right? So traders, sellers, retailers, everybody come out here. Now they have to be careful what they are sending. Okay, fine. Now we know the banned substances, the banned varieties, and we will not send it. Then comes the next one. You have to keep a tab on how much you are using the packing material, right? The post-consumer phase requiring businesses to take measures to ensure people that they are handling it in a safe way. So that means your responsibility doesn't end with sending a product which is a material which is very safe and in the functional manner. It is going to function performance-wise, you're taking care of it. But you're also ensuring that after that, what happens to the packaging, right? That means the disposal. Here comes the understanding. Why are we so interested about the post-consumer phase? Why is it being stressed on? Because the business life cycle, that is the production or the process life cycle, is changed. We were in the linear economy structure. That is nothing but the cradle to grave structure. We all know, right? What is cradle to grave? That means we are getting the virgin material from the mines because they give the best of the qualities. And then grave. Grave means responsible waste disposal. I have different bins, different color of bins. So I'm going to put it in the respective bin, and the same bin I'm going to hand over to the recycler. That's it, finished. My role ends. I've been safe. And the recycler will go further and okay, he will do the needful. Either he will get it recycled or he will make it ready and dispose it off, right? This is cradle to grave. That means we were digging the earth and then we were burying it as a waste, right? And this waste, remember, when it goes to the grave or the landfill, it cannot be touched for 30 years. So that means what? You are exploiting the virgin material. Okay. So it has changed now. Now it has changed on to, we know, cradle to cradle, right? That is where we have the extended producer responsibility talking about post-consumer phase. It's not only about finding out how much you're utilizing and keeping tab on the number, accountability, but you have been given the target of taking it back, recycling it, using it, right? So this is the aspect of extended producer responsibility. That is the targets we are talking about. So every one of them, depending on what category and what type they are into, business into, now they have been given targets. 70%, 30%, 50%, right? And the year. Please remember, it is year-wise. So we have a target. 2024 is a very, very important year for us, right? 24-25 is a very, very important year for the whole planet because of a lot of UNEP programs and the sustainability goals. And we were supposed to bring down the temperature, 1.5 degrees, but not happening. We have already crossed 2 degrees. That's why we are sweating. And this is, so now the targets have to be, actually 100% recycling has to be achieved by this year. Anyway, we will see how much. So the whole movement for EPR, it started in 1990. So as we know, the Nordic countries are far ahead in all these. So it was by Thomas Lindquist in 1990 in a university, Lund University. He was researching there. He gives a report to the Ministry of Environment, Sweden, which was this concept of EPR. And Sweden adopts it And next comes the OECD countries, group of countries in Europe. So they take it up, right? And Germany is the first one to implement it as a policy. They all take it up as a policy and start releasing the EPR policies for their respective countries. And Germany is the first one to introduce it in 1991. And then in 2012, it is adopted by India. Okay, under the Act, that is the Environmental Protection Act 1986, this is adopted. And this is for e-waste. The first one was for e-waste. That is 2016. And then in 2016 only, when they amended the e-waste rules, we also got the plastic EPR introduced, right? So what we have now is 2022. So the applicability is originating from this act. We have the e-waste management rules, battery waste management rules. They go hand in hand. And then the plastic waste management rules, all in the year 2022. And we also have the latest notification guidelines for plastic packaging guidelines, right, for EPR. So these are the three rules, the compliances which the industries have to follow, have to get themselves authorized, right? And I think most of them are in the process of. So I feel that we can extend our compliance, when we are checking the compliance to management compliances, EPR would be one of the other element we need to check how much they are doing it, right? This is because there is a big gap. We all see that as auditors or as management consultants. We see a big gap. That is, there is an unorganized sector here, right? And unmonitored sector also is there. Unorganized sector and unmonitored sector, many of the times they are subsets. And then we have somebody where enforcement is very poor, right? Enforcement is very poor. In that case, we also are doing a kind of a monitoring work, and we can check how much they are following it. So first, let us understand e-waste and what all it tries to encompass. So it is applicable to every manufacturer of electrical electronic equipment. It can be a manufacturer, it can be a producer, refurbisher, dismantler, and a recycler. Okay, in many cases, they might be one, and then we have a refurbisher, dismantler, and recycler as one, right? They're authorized. And then we have recyclers as separately, somebody who just neutralizes it and sends it to the end. That is either the incinerator or either the landfill, right? So they have to be registered in the central portal of Central Pollution Control Board. So CPCB has created a central portal out here, and it is not decentralized, but rather it is that means it has a single window control over it, right? It's a central portal. No entity shall carry out any business without registration, right? That means all others are unauthorized. Now, what is our purview as auditors? I think what we can do is that when every industry will come out with e-waste, right? They need not have to fall under the category of manufacturer or producer. I use smartphone, I use a laptop. So automatically, I will be eligible for this, right? So they will have e-waste which they are producing, and then how do they dispose it off? So they dispose it off to the recycler. Now, who is this recycler? Is he authorized? Very important. Now it is, yeah, he's authorized. Do you have a copy of his authorization, right? He has to share it. So you have to take it. So these are certain things what we can check. See, when we do a checking, we put somebody on alert. That's the first step towards, I think, policing, I would say, isn't it? So they become alert. When we ask questions, people become alert. And they will say, they will immediately, am I doing something wrong? That is what we want to kindle in them. We want to tell them that, become sensible. think that we have a moral obligation towards ourselves, our next generations, and the planet, right? And want to bring the informal sector. Whenever we are talking about the informal sector, we know that none of these rules or anything is in place there. You cannot expect anything there, right? So we have a huge bunch there. And it drives our economy. Please remember, they are part of our economy. So just because they are, what you say, informal or unorganized, we cannot just exclude them. Right? There's a huge chunk out there. And if we try to exclude them, then we are directly committing a crime, right? On their existence, on their livelihood. So we have to be very careful. So this is one way of bringing everybody under the blanket of monitoring, which is a tough job. Then comes, approaches have been given. Again, this approach is very difficult, but a step has been taken towards it which we call it as a component recovery. That means this is in the direction of circular economy, where we are talking about zero waste. That means, can we take out something from that equipment which is in good condition and which can be reused, right? Which has a life and it can be extended, and which we can reuse it, refurbish it and reuse it. So that component recovery is being given so that our dependency on virgin resources is cut down. Because when we are talking about all this, please remember, we are trying to bring down the carbon emissions, CO2 emissions. That is our goal. The temperature, what is rising, is only because of the rising carbon levels. So our goal, when we dig the earth, we are releasing the carbon to the environment. So it adds up to the temperature and the carbon count. So we are stopping that. Then comes a residual disposal. Right? That means safe disposal of whatever little is left after you try to recover the most of it and reuse it, refurbish it. So whatever residual is there, we are making sure that it is safely disposed. Right? So these two has been enforced. The approach has been enforced in this. So this was e-waste. And then we have something called environmental compensation. EPR actually is built on the principle of polluter pays principle, PPP principle, right? I think most of us who are in the environment management, we understand this principle. That means we are responsible. I am polluting it, then I am responsible. I will pay for it. So that has been brought about here in the environmental compensation, right? If you are found to be defaulting, then you will have to pay for it, right? And then comes the solar PVs. Yes, we are entering that. We talked about that, that correction action, what we always take up. We never go for corrective actions. The same is happening here. We want to bring down the carbon dioxide levels, carbon emissions. So what we did, we said we will use renewable energy. The best is the sun, always available. And we went for solar. And when we talk about solar, we know how to harness solar, but we don't know what is the end of it. There is a shelf life for everything, right? After the end of the solar panel life, how are you going to dispose it? So we have to gear up. When we see the acres and hectares of solar panels being, commissioned, installed, don't be very happy, right? Because that is a big, big question. And it's highly polluting. We don't have the technology yet, right? Now they want to bring this also into e-waste because they know the impact, right? And EV also falls in the same category. EV also falls in the same category. Everybody, whenever somebody is buying a new vehicle, the first question is, oh, are you buying an EV, right? So don't fall into the trap. We have to know the end of it also. So now this solar, they want to bring in the accountability as to how much is there, because they don't want again the solar panels to get into the wrong mode of disposal, right? And false claims, that also is there. So to get a tab on it early, so they have introduced that also. Now next comes the EPR certificate. right? So these EPR certificates are given to all of them depending on their generation and transaction. Each of this for yearly, they keep giving their certificates and you have to keep that. That becomes a very, very important document, compliance document. Gives the exact, that means they are declaring this much and they are legally bound by it. And then we are talking about that the producers of the electrical equipments and their components, they have to ensure that there is no lead, mercury, and other. The list of hazardous materials we know runs it's a big list. So all these hazardous materials which are categorized, they ensure that they do not contain. So it's a long way to go. We are still to get rid of lead from our soldering, right? It is cheaper. So we are still sticking to it. So we have got a long way to go. So this is the e-waste, and this rules is taking care of all this. So a rule or a notification is a first step we take. That is, consciously, when we make a rules, we know that what we already have, right? To combat it, to abate it, we are doing all this. So secondly, we come to the battery management, e-waste, the battery waste management, which is applicable to all varieties of batteries. Okay, that is a chemically all varieties, their weight, their material compositions, and of course their use. It is applicable to all of them. And now the producers, here we have a lot of importers will be there. So apart from the manufacturers, so they are obligated that they have to now be conscious. They have to give the post-consumer use facilities, right? And meet the EPR obligations. And again, they have to register in the centralized portal of CPCB. So this was the battery. And again, one is two options, two step it is. When they are registering in the CPCB, it doesn't end there. They have to go back to the respective SPCBs also, states also, and register, but both are linked. It is the same central, portal, which is handled by CPCB. And under it only, you will have to have the SPCB, but you will have to register in both of them. Okay. The major one, that is a plastic. So now I'm going to just talk about, how to understand this plastic. Of course, we have chemical engineers out here who know it better, the composition wise, right? So many compositions are there. Plastic is, as I said, it's a magic material. And we have tried to use it everywhere inside our own body for medical as well as outside, right? Everywhere. So these are some of the varieties which has been listed in the EPR guidelines. And the second very important one is the plastic packaging, right? That first one comes under the manufacturers, right? The producers. The second one comes for those businesses which are using it as a packaging. So when we talk about them here, we have a lot of interesting terminologies which we will be looking into and understanding them. So here the packaging, is multi, tasked. Packaging is used for protecting the material well within, preserving it, and then storing it for a long time. And also during transport, nothing should happen to it. These are the criteria for which we use the packaging. We know that. Now, the four categories which fall under the coverage of the EPR is category 1, which is a rigid plastic packaging. And then the second one is a flexible plastic packaging. That is a single layer, right? What we are talking about. And then we have the other one where we have huge sheets which we cover, plastic sheets. And then we have the carry bags and plastic chassis. So they come as small and as big, that, right? And it contains a lot of things. It contains typically the edible things. It can be medical or it can be food material. Then comes a third category where we have the multi-layered. very simple example is a Tetra packing, right? Tetra packing. And also, let us take another example. Let us take our favorite, Dairy Milk chocolate. So here it is multi-layered, right? So you have a paper, you may have a plastic covering to it, right? So many things are there. Foil will be there, so many things. So these are the multi-layered plastic packagings where more than one layer and material is used. And then we have the fourth category where, compostable plastics. Yes, that is biodegradable plastics are used, right? So one of the things what we have to remember is that when it comes to exemption, this exemption is given to those industries who use or make 100% biodegradable plastics. Only they have been given. That means when it is, see now it is not that simply nobody can say, we have this great, this thing going on, no, organic, right? Every food product or every grain or grocery or whatever, milk se leke, anything like, we have it tagged as organic, and it will always be double, triple the price of the normal item, right? So they cannot do that. They have to submit the respective documentation to prove that it is 100% biodegradable. That means when it degrades, decomposes, right? When it becomes a compost, then it doesn't emit any chemical to the environment, right? All this has to be, paperwork has to be substantiated. Only then they will get exemption. Means they will not be in that race of EPR forever like others. It will be a one-time one. Now, the parties that are obligated to follow these mandates fall under this category. That is producers, importers, brand owners. So we call them as PBOs. This is the new terminology and very widely used, PBOs, right? So we know the producers, we know the importers. Who are these brand owners? That is one thing what we need to understand about. Okay. So producers of the plastic packaging, it can be them. Importers. Now you see, we are not talking about who is making that packaging. We are talking about the plastic packaging itself, which is the crux of the whole story. So they are producers of this packaging material. Next comes importers, and there are many packaging material which comes from outside also, right? So products which come packed with that material, and also only the packing material also, we know that. Then comes the brand owners. Let's take the simple example of Nestle, or let us take the example of Apple, right? Now, what happens here? They are brand owners only. They are not the manufacturers, producers, right? They get it done and they put their sticker on it. They are not the manufacturers. They are the brand owners. They are also responsible. That means if I'm going to put my Nestle brand sticker on it, then I am responsible and I have to make sure that this particular EPR is in place. So here we understand the complete supply chain which has to be taken care of, right? So as a producer, as a manufacturer, I am supposed to give that data also to, I have to upload it on the SPCB's website, which talks about who all are there under me, right? One is the vendor from whom you would have bought, and then you would have packed it, whom you would have sent, right? There is no, secrecy or confidentiality out here. Everybody. So because whoever you are dealing with as a business is an entity, right? That means the person is a legal person, legally approved entity. Then in that case, your buyer also has to be one. Otherwise, you will be categorized under illegal services, right? So everybody, that means if I'm selling something, if packaging and selling, let us say a chocolate, then I have to tell who bought my chocolate, right? And I have to give this much was sent and this much of the packaging material was used. Now, that person, we know, that person also is liable. Now, you will get that, what do you say, the chain, right? So this is how it is that each one of us will be giving a data, and that data has to be substantiated. So immediately the authorities or the regulatory bodies get to know where is the flaw, gap, where we are missing out. Because please remember, they are trying to tackle a bigger problem, that is the plastic pollution, right? 60% of the plastic which is out there in the environment. They want accountability for it. They are fed up. I am fed up as a taxpayer paying money. Why should I? They have been putting it on me. Along with the cost of the product, I pay for that also. Don't we all give Swachh Bharat cess? Right? So now the onus is getting shifted from the taxpayers to the producers. Hey, you have to be careful, because even if as a consumer I am careless or unaware how to dispose it, you do your due diligence. Correct? So that is how they are bringing in everybody into the picture. We have one more very important terminology out here called plastic waste processors. That is the most biggest problem. That is the informal plastic processors, informal e-waste processors, right? We have. Fine. This is a very common sign you see in the no man's land, where, you will have some, where there is no people residing or any kind of a settlement. You see that most of these Gujri people who collect a lot of these e-waste wires and other things, what they pick up, they would be rack pickers. Typically, they go there and they set fire and they try to retrieve the metal, like copper or whatever metal is there, they want to retrieve it. We also see that, one of the other major issue we have is a tire disposal. Tire disposal. Jaishankar sir has mentioned about it. Sir, we will talk about it in the question answer session. The tire disposal is a very, very big menace, right? Okay. So what does this result in when we say EPR? So that was EPR and EPR rules, right? What are they trying to achieve? They want to achieve that. They want to promote the 4 R's, reuse and recycle amongst them. They want to promote it so that new material or virgin material is not exploited, right? That means when you're doing reusing and recycling, less energy is utilized than bringing out a raw material and processing it and making it the right, composition for usage. Then comes the cost of collection, processing and recycling is shifted, right? Only we as taxpayers were taking it up. And when we say taxpayers, of course, government is there. Our money only goes there. And with our money, they run the whole government or the country. So it is now shifted to the producers also. Now they become responsible, right? And then we now give a new scope to new type of business, innovative methods of eco-friendly, coming up with eco-friendly product and also packaging design, right? There comes the startups. So this is what is the intention of the EPR. They want to achieve this. And the major concern is the bringing down the CO2 level, the carbon footprints of the emission level, because we as a country have all signed up for it, right? The Kyoto Protocol, we are all obligated to bring down our respective carbon emissions. So this is typically the way, how we can understand what happens. So this is the e-waste, what I have taken, and how, each one of them is related. So you see that in one side, we have the regulatory bodies who are trying to keep a tab on every one of them. But They can keep a tab on each one of them only when they get registered, right? Remember that. Somebody who comes and registered, I can take care of. But sorry, I don't know if it is the right example. There will be a lot of Ekalavyas out there, who will not register to the class and understand it, but will take and they will do it in their own way. So, and what happened to Ekalavya? He had to give his thumb. So please, we need to take care of that informal sector. We don't want any business to lose their business because they are not doing it in the right way. Correct? So now this is a very simple and a very easy cycle what we see on the presentation, but it is a very difficult one because when we talk about authorized recycle and dismantlers, we should know that that percentage is very small, right? That percentage is very small. We have a huge market out here, which is informal. So some of the questions what we will have is EPR, let's say the plastic EPR. The question is it applicable to MSME? So the small and the micro industries are need not get into this, what you say, the registration process is what they are exempted for it as of now, because now they are trying to catch all the big sharks and the whales. Then they will come to the other sector. Please don't think that you are excluded from it. Be ready. This is an indication for you to be just ready with your own data, but they want to catch, just like the the IT people, right? Income tax people, and the EDs, they catch the big ones first. So in the e-waste, who is exempted? Who is exempted is the recycling, dismantling, and disposal units, which are authorized already. They're already there. They're already there. They already know about them. They are exempted from the EPR. They don't come under EPR. They're processing industry. Okay. So they don't have to do this, but they will have to supply the data. When the data substantiation will happen, that time it will come to them, right? The final, because they would have received that much of waste for disposal, for recycling. So then that data, what the others would have supplied as producers and importers and brand owners, that will be substantiated with the recyclers. And the types of e-waste EPRs which is currently applicable is only the e-waste and the plastic waste management rules and the notification, right? Two legislations as of now they have to register for. So now, is it a solution for our zero waste? It depends on three factors, as I already mentioned about it. So a big nation with a big informal sector, we have a huge economy called rag pickers, right? Dependent on it. It's very difficult. And the waste itself is a problem. Understanding the waste is a problem. How many of us are following that single use plastic ban? How many of us, individuals? How many of us have that little cloth or reusable bag for vegetables to carry, fruits to carry on our way back home from office? How many of us use these steel bottles, for drinking water? How many of us use our own mugs for the tea? I always remember a soldier for this. I think many of us, there will be a lot of soldiers out here in our group also. Their kit, we all know, right? They have their mug, they have their spoon, they have a small plate. I think we all need to learn a lot from that. And the process itself, right? Is it the right technology we are using? So all these areas are very, very contingent areas which needs to be treated. When we come to people, actually India has around 1.5 to 4 million rag pickers. So they don't have any social security, right? When we are talking about monitoring the waste and bringing it, we are trying, what happens here is there is one more terminology, a term called PROs. Okay, producers responsibility organizations. That means all the producers, instead of themselves taking care of this EPR, will come together and they will say, we are going to make one organization which will be taking care of all our wastes and monitoring us. Now these PROs can become a business itself. right? And when they become corporate, as a corporate, they start working, then you know what happens to these rag pickers, right? These rag pickers are, I say, honest workers. Right now, you're taking away that little income or livelihood they have been having as honest citizens. So we don't want them to get on to the other side. So occupational health and safety is a big problem with these rag pickers. We know that they don't use any kind of any protection gear. They use their bare hands and they always are barefoot. Livelihood security, yes, this gives them their bread and butter, if not the roof. Right, then comes the waste itself. Sorry, the process here we are talking about, yes, now we have, when we talk about the landfills, they are now insisting on only those things residual. We talked about the component recovery and the residual recovery, right? Only the residual waste will get into the landfill. So the rest of it will be used as alternate resource, alternate fuel. Cement industry is one of them, which has been using, right? From the TSDF, they neutralize it, they make it, and they use it. And also the incinerators, means these resources are high in energy, high calorific. So they use it for generation of energy also to run their operations, factories. And then incineration itself is a very, very complicated process. And it is a hazardous process. And when it comes to chemical recycling, we have, it is very, very, very difficult to handle it. And waste as such, we have, recyclable. That's an informal method, right? Which can be recycled and used. There is no written rule book out here, how I'm going to recycle it, refurbish it. And then comes the technology used for recycling itself. We know that it's very expensive. So how far we will be able to handle this waste is a big problem. And remember, we not only are going to handle our own waste, we also buy waste to handle. So, and non-recyclable waste, no, we have not categorized. Here is where, when you go to the plastics, the EPR, you will see that, let us say our, these sanitary ware. No, it is not. It is. I don't think it is being categorized there. And then we have, let us take our footwear. Right, the slippers, what we use, chappals, that also is not been categorized, right? So that identification of those material itself has not happened comprehensively yet, not completely. So please, by this, we are not going to get rid of any 100% waste. So the way forward for us is consultation. Just sitting in a room, couple of people, or let us say handful of people, bureaucrats, and coming up, the same bureaucrats going out there, signing all the international conventions and coming back and formulating a rule and releasing it will not solve this problem. They need to take care of all of us. They need to call people like us also and take data from us. That is how a policy is made, right? And they have to take every segment of the society, technical people, experts, right? And what we see, we are the ones who see every day what is happening in reality there, right? And we are bound by our confidentiality, but we can help them, giving suggestions how it can be done better. And integrating the informal sector, that informal sector should not be wiped off, right? They have to be made formal. So that can be taken over. CSR can be one of the way where they can bring in this informal sector under a gambit. And the scope, that is the waste identification itself, has to be comprehensively done, right? It should not be just a handful of waste, what can be seen and taken up easy. Let us do this. Because 24 is a year where we have to show 100% recycling. I don't think it's possible. And yes, ensure circular economy. That means boost or give rise to such entities where we have circular economy. That means innovations where it can be reused, and monitoring the end of life processing in a very strict way. This is not happening. We all know that this is not happening, right? This has to happen. Somebody cannot just sit in their offices and ask people to submit data, right? No, they have to go to the field. They have to check if things are happening or not. How much is it happening? No, they are not doing it. I'm so sorry. Yes, we all know that. They have to do that. So only then EPR will become a reality somewhere, right? Otherwise, it's a very, very long way to go. As Walt Disney said, Walt Disney is very favorite to all of us. We all love the Tom and Jerry he made. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin walking. We're working towards it. Action time, right? So this is the time for us to do something. So I think as individuals, we can do something. We can stop using the single-use, right, plastics. Somewhere we have to stop it. So this was what I knew and what I shared. So now I think Yachika can take over and let us see who wants to ask and who wants to also speak. As I said, we have so many out here who would be experts. Sirs, madams, please come on, unmute yourself and add. I might have missed out a lot of points. In 1 hour, I know we cannot cover everything.
Ma'am, thank you so much for briefing us on EPR, that is Extended Producer Responsibility. So I request everyone to unmute themselves and ask if they have any questions regarding the sessions.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can ask the question.
Ma'am, you have said that this is regarding the electronic wastage. I want to ask, nowadays, which article is being manufactured which is not utilizing electronic? Fridge, which was totally mechanical item long back, is nowadays using electronic components. So how to control that? Is the fridge manufacturers also should require EPR license?
Ma'am, please unmute your.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Now comes the PBOS in picture. The PBOS will be there. First comes the brand owner, right? The fridge happens to be a Samsung, an LG, a Whirlpool, a Godrej, right? It starts with them. They will have to do that.
So they have to be registered with that and then
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
So, madam, so that means, and when the individual people, those the users, they are giving it out.
There we have to be careful. Yes, that is where, each one of us have to know that. Now the brand owners and the manufacturers, okay, because their business is under threat. If they don't do it, they're unauthorized, right? They lose their business license to work. Then they do it. Now comes the users. The main problem we are facing is with us who are the users, right? We don't know what to do. We just keep it out there. Very wrong. And otherwise what we do, 500 भी मिल जाता है तो दे देते हैं हम लोग, है ना?
Exactly.
We give it. So we will have to be very careful when we give it away. I have seen it. You might all have seen it. Go to some battery shop. You want to get your car battery recharged, let us say. So we go there. You see that, he empties the water. Where does he empty it? He is supposed to give it to a recycler, right?
Definitely.
To a common ETP.
Definitely, yes.
He has to pay for it. है ना? ये छोटा सा शॉप है वहां पर, he's a retailer. क्या करता है? I have seen it. वो उसके दुकान के सामने होता है, फुटपाथ होता है, उसके नीचे होता है सुएज, है ना? डोमेस्टिक सुएज लाइन होती है, तो वहां पर छोड़ देता है वो. So where will it go? It goes to it goes to the sewage treatment plant. It doesn't go to the effluent treatment plant. And sewage treatment plant वो recycle करके छोड़ देते हैं. Many cases they reuse it. In many of the cities, all the metropolitans, we use only treated water only. Nobody gets any Ganga water. Ganga water we cannot drink. Kaveri water or whatever other river water. No, we are all drinking the contaminated water only or treated water only. So it comes to us, isn't it?
Definitely, it's always being recycled.
It's always been recycled and given the name of the river. Especially in Bangalore, we talk about Kaveri water. Whenever we say drinking water, we don't call it drinking water. It is Kaveri water. Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to extend warm welcome, Mrs. Smita.
Thank you,
You
sir.
have explained in very simple way and covering almost all the aspect. Of course, I could see you're short of time because this topic is such a big topic and this is a burning topic. Today, if you see, is a most burning topic.
Yes.
Even our PM has also announced that 2070 we have zero carbon,
Yes.
and it's a very uphill task for us. But nevertheless, I appreciate we Indians ancient time we had very good systems like sabji lene jate hain, so you take a jola which is of cotton. So those things we have forgotten, and today we take plastic and all those things. We create problem. What I would like to stress upon, and if you see the burning example, what you gave, the battery wala, he just spills in the Nala, and Nala finally goes to Methi River. If you see Bombay, Methi River, there's no more river. I don't know how you are going to clean that river. It's so much of polluted. I'm sure it is polluting our ground also, groundwater also. It is polluting very much. But nobody is bothered, and whatever inhabitation is there around that Nala, they just dispose everything there, whatever comes. So what I would like to stress upon that we should have consumer or user, they should be more eco-friendly. They had to take responsibility, not only producers, not only brand people, not only manufacturers, not only this sailors and those malls and other things. If you see today, malls, tons of waste is produced. I don't know where it goes. God only knows. Nobody. So, do they have responsibility? Because they have made such a big mall and they make so much of profit out of it. What is their responsibility? As you rightly says, I think you need to have our regulatory bodies who have been, I don't want to just blame or I don't want to say bad words about anything, but somewhere we have failed. Our regulatory authorities have failed miserably. So that has to be there. And one thing I would, as I told you, consumers should know labeling when you are buying. What is the marking for the recycling? One should know. Even primary packaging, okay, you are saying. Whatever the secondary packaging, I want you to put on. There are good things are being done on the eco side, like now disposal of tires. I think our Gadkari Saab has already allowed that all the road construction they can use it. It is being used now.
Even plastic is allowed, sir.
Okay, it's not
Plastic,
aware of that.
plastic, yeah.
Yeah, even the plastic also allowed, as the plastic has long life. So plastic also allowed. That's good. Where one more thing I want you to little give focus on agro waste, because that is also culprit for the carbon emission. Can you put a little light on that one?
So for carbon emission, the agro waste, is it? That is very true, sir. That is, yes, we have, as I mentioned, we have this great, I should say, a parallel industry, which is organic, which labels itself as organic running around, which is of course not. And agro waste can be, there are many startups which have come, which have been trying to use the agro waste, right? Like when it comes to trying to replace the plastics as such, like the what you say, the sugarcane waste, or the ethanol and other things which can be used as a biofuels. That is also there. And then we have a lot of biofuel itself, that is which is going to use the methane, which comes out of the agro or the food industry. That also is there. One of the way, I think sir knows it better, the only thing is the packaging of it for a long distance, which can be utilized. I think that is the only reason why even the gobar gas is limited to, wherever it is localized. That means घर में हम पिछवाड़े में करते हैं और घर में use करते हैं, right? If that can be, the technology can be improved where you can use it, send it to the urban areas. I think we all, instead of CNG, we can, the LPG, we can start using the biogas, where of course the emissions will be less. So that will be one of them. And composting is one thing, every one of us, if we can bring up composting, do composting on, kahin bhi, even I stay in an apartment and I do my composting. That is at least the minimum composting I do. That is vegetable waste. So these can be taken up, I think, as an individual. As I said, एक थैला लेके जाइए, है ना, and एक water bottle रखिए, because water contamination is too bad, है ना. So it is better to carry your water from home. So that is one thing, and composting is another other thing. These three, I think, can be done individually by all of us, so that we can bring down the carbon emission to a level. I know that it is a very big thing. We need to make it a big revolution. And very lately, that is a couple of days back in Bangalore, we had this municipal corporation coming up with the 4-hour kind of facility in every ward, corporation ward. They have put it up, and they are calling out to people, not keep waste. Let us say, they say that if you have books also, which is not in use, please come and give to us. They are going to see to it that it comes, and they can supply it to the underprivileged. So they are doing this. But my only take again is back the informal sector. We should not hit out that. We should not put them out of job. That is the big thing. When all of us will give away it to these people, then where will that in informal sector go? That is a pain point, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
I have one comment to make here. When you were talking about the regulatory bodies and authorities, there is one news which has gone viral in the whole world. I've just sent to Dr. Kataria, and BBC is actually, propagating this news. It just happened yesterday or day before yesterday. Chhattisgarh, 1 lakh liters of water drained just to search one mobile for a government officer. 1 lakh liters of water was thrown into, and then finally when they found the mobile, this mobile was also, completely moist and unusable. And this 1 lakh water wastage in Chhattisgarh by a food inspector. And this has gone viral. It's very interesting. This is the way our people, they care for the environment. Second thing, madam, in one of the recent seminars, there was a question where the speaker was not able to answer it. But I am a small trader, for example. I am a trader. I import insulation material. I just cut the insulation and sell it back to industry, right? I have a small cutting machine in my location. Now, am I governed by these rules of plastic waste management in any way? I don't generate any plastic in my own premises. But
no, but you are importing. You come to the category of importers.
So then
Yes.
it will be packaged.
So
will be-
you will have to just check because yes, you will belong to the category of importers.
Okay, and
Yes.
this import, and I am sure that this plastic has lot of wrapping, what we call as those PVC sheets.
Yes,
है ना? So
Yes.
that wrapping, then this guy has to get registered with the.
But yes, you will have to check that the criteria is what they have given. One is the importer criteria, and other one is that if you belong to the small and the micro sector, you are exempted. But please remember that you are not exempted. You may be exempted from EPR filing and getting authorization, but you will have to keep the data ready. Somebody else, has sent something to you. He might be a producer and a manufacturer, right? So he would have already mentioned you as one of the buyer.
Okay,
So you will,
one
you
more
are
thing.
there in
Okay,
the
good,
chain.
good. I got the answer.
Yes.
About e-waste management, you said this applies to all MSMEs, irrespective of their business. Was that the point?
Yes. Here
Yeah.
it is. I am using a laptop, and after use it becomes a scrap. I have to throw it out. So where you are giving it to?
But there is no registration as such. They have to just
No
dispose.
registration.
No
No
registration.
registration.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It is a
Yeah.
registration for e-waste is only for producers, manufacturers of electrical equipments.
Yeah, that's correct. Another thing which I have a suggestion like this. There is some innovative approach has to be there in agro industries or at home and by municipal corporation. Like this, if you see, there's a cluster approach, like you have number of villages, and then they put together, have a gobar plant. Because individual gobar plant is too expensive, plus it is not sustainable because the quantity of gobar is produced is very low. So if it is a cluster approach, and then maybe 10 villages put together, if they make a big plant that can supply to entire village areas. So that way, similarly, cluster approach has to be there in the industries.
Yes.
Though MIDC and other thing, they have those ETP and other thing. But how effective it is, we have to see.
Yes.
Because those were produced maybe 10, 20 years back. And today, those are not capable enough to see this so much of waste is coming out. Are they able to handle it?
So that is where these PROs are coming into picture, sir. Producer responsibility organizations. That means they will create another one entity who will take care of a bunch of these people's waste. That itself is becoming, that can be run, the PROs can be run as a NGO, non-profitable, or it can be a profitable entity itself. They are getting it incorporated also. This is the option.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, UAE, if you see, they have taken a lead on this, and they have everywhere, every community, they have put bins. Very huge bins are there,
Yes.
and you can discard your clothes, books, toys, anything, and then they segregate and then give it to the people who are needing it. Similarly, activities there, recycling is a big industry there now. If you see our Emirates, lot of things are recycled. There are blankets, there are a lot of things which is coming from the recycle, and they give a special incentive. Even the Germany also, if you have the recycled cartridges,
Yes.
so cost is low.
True. The
So,
right
such
to
things-
repair has been made mandatory. That is, I think.
But sir,
yeah, right.
sir, I'd just like to add on. Even in India, a lot of industries have common ETPs, common collection points, and if not self-run, what they are doing is there are these agencies. I remember for sure in Udaipur, they have this UCCI, and UCCI mein Ramki is a big part. So Ramki, in fact, is a part of the UCCI association, and he provides services integrally to all the industries for, waste disposable and collection, segregation, monitoring. So he's got all kinds of waste handling, whether it is landfill, plastic, radioactive, hospital. They have these clusters and they service the entire cluster. I'm sure such approaches are there in many organizations, because waste management is picked up and there are organizations who do waste management and they approach these industrial sectors to segregate, collect, rather than having it in-house. It's business for them also, and it's service for the industry and society.
But that is again very few, sir.
Very few,
Just
yeah,
like you are mentioning these TSDF sites
correct.
for ours, that is Karnataka itself, we just have 2. And Ramki is one of them who is
Correct.
a
Ramki
long
is
time
big,
player.
very organized. But ma'am, if you'll see, biomedical waste collection units is a very, very established task.
Yes.
But we as an industry need to learn from them, because see, biomedical, it's so good that they actually are there in path centers also to collect their waste.
Yes,
It's gone to that level. So there is a very organized thing, and other industries should take that cue. It's business for a lot of industries, and automatically it's good service to society.
Yes. We have seen it in many this thing, especially they are driven by the MNCs.
Correct.
If they have the parent MNC body, they are already way ahead.
Yeah.
And in one of the places we have them, they are zero waste already. They are whatever, that is a label manufacturing company, and they have huge waste coming out of those labels,
Right.
So what they are doing is that they actually have a heating machine where they heat the labels and make it into a pulp kind of a thing. And this is used by their another factory for packaging.
Wow.
So they make cardboard out of it, and instead of buying the cardboard packaging, they use their own labels, and they have achieved the zero waste.
Yeah. There are many organizations. I remember one of the very senior people talking to me, and he says that you wouldn't believe that ITC is an environmentally positive company.
Yes.
Now, who could imagine that ITC, with all the cigarettes that they make and consume, it's an environmentally positive organization.
Yes.
I mean, that's the beauty of, people who've actually gone ahead and implemented in a big way.
Yes.
Right, ma'am?
Yes.
Over to you, ma'am. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I
yes.
just have a question.
Yes.
Thanks for your presentation. The manufacturers of electric vehicles like two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, will they also come under this EPR, under the battery waste management rules?
Yeah, they will, sir.
Okay,
They will
so
have to,
how-
because they import battery as such now, right?
Okay.
So as importers, they will have to log in their battery, this thing. And if
Okay.
they are using any electronics, then naturally there also they will have to do it.
Okay. So generally, the
All the
battery
all
may-
the three will come to them, sir. That is the
Okay.
e-waste will come, and battery will come, and the plastic also. All three will be applicable to them.
But supposing, see what happens, they will source the battery from somebody else. And at the end of the useful life of the vehicle, maybe 10 years or 15 years, how will they get it back from the end user? How
From
is
the
it possible?
user.
Yeah, from the user. See,
It's,
because of,
yes,
battery
they
life
will
may last-
they will have to see that is one of the loose ends here. Now once you sell it to the consumer, you can't chase the consumer, right? We don't know how many hands it will change also.
Yeah, because it goes into the retail sector. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
when it goes to the
consumer,
retail structure,
normal
here
public may be using it.
our aspect is that one is that yes, it is out there in the environment. That accountability has been established.
Okay.
So we know that it is there. And
Okay.
another one is here the awareness given to the user
Okay.
that when you are disposing it off, and also there are a lot of incentives which can be run out here. Like you say that please give it back to us, and then the next battery I will give you a subsidy on it.
Okay.
Right, such
discount.
kind of a discount or initiatives have to be run by the organization, and they will have to come up. Here what happens is, I think even the government will pitch in.
Okay.
They will say, just like the waste management, where the government gives them money to manage our waste. So similarly, they will give everything subsidized. They will say that if you give this system, then I will also pitch in there. I'll give you this much. So he will not be making any loss over it.
So you're saying that for e-waste manufacturers, battery waste tool applicable, e-waste tool applicable, and plastic waste.
Yeah, yeah, all three will be applicable.
Why plastic waste?
Plastic waste, because naturally they will also be buying a lot of components. It's only the assembly, right? So it
Okay.
comes in plastic packaging.
The component of the
Yes.
vehicle after its useful
Yes.
life
They
is
will
over.
not be producers. They will
Okay.
not be producers. They will come under the importer section. They
Okay.
will come under the brand owner section, and they
Okay.
will also come under the manufacturing section.
Okay. Importers, brand owners, manufacturers.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So anybody else wants to add anything to here and share their own experiences? I think can go ahead. Yachika.
So we,
I guess
I see Jory sir here. Jory sir, would you like to, pitch in or add? It will be an honor, sir, to hear you.
I was just here for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I wanted to refresh my knowledge. So I was just here for listening. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, Yachika, over to you.
Yes, I guess we are all done with the question and answer session. And thank you so much, ma'am, for inviting us on this very interesting topic, that is extended producer responsibility, which is the process of environmental protection strategy. It is aimed at decreasing a total environmental impact from a product and its packaging by ensuring that the procedure of the product take responsibility for the entire life cycle. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I thank Yachika for being a moderator, and I
Yeah.
thank ICS Sadgun Sang. Thank you. And this also gave me an opportunity to read through the guidelines, read through the latest what is happening, and yes, an opportunity to share whatever I have known. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you so
Vaibhav. Also, he was the one who was coordinating and and making sure that I was available today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time. Now, ICS has organized World Environment Day 2023 on 3rd June. We shall have eminent speakers and environmentalists who shall speak on environment. So I'm requesting everyone to please join us in making this conclave a great success. This is Sane Dhanam, a home away at Vadivali, Palghar, for people with physical disabilities and senior citizens to share happiness, provide care, medical services, therapy, vocational and recreational activities, nutrition, wellness, safe and comfortable lifestyle. So now we are officially. So ICS is pleased to provide you all its research and development integrated management system, that is QMS, EMS and OSHAs, excellence in education management, ISO made easy in Gujarati, Marathi, Telugu, Hindi and many languages. So here is the feedback form. Please register on www.sadgunsan.org and go in, log in and please give us a feedback about this session. Thank you for being part of Sadgunsan. Thank you, Smita ma'am. Now we are officially close our session.
Thank you.
Thank you.